Hi, this is Will Stewart from OnlineChessLessons.net, and I'm going to be continuing my coverage today of the 2011 Russian Team Championship. So, a game between Alexander Motylev and Pavel Maletin. And Maletin quickly takes things into Caro-Kann. And Motylev plays the, I believe this is the advanced variation, with immediate e5, and it's been a pretty popular line, especially with this knight f3 line and bishop e2. It's been definitely pretty popular at the high levels lately. Some plans involving knight bd2, knight b3 to kind of clamp down on the c5 square, or also some with an early c4. And so yeah, that's kind of the general idea. And if an early c4, sometimes black will play d takes c4 and opening up a great square for the knight on d5. And so immediately getting very, very sharp play with c5 and c4, and now knight c6. So it seems like white maybe went a little too crazy by opening up the center so fast, but the idea is that black is going to have a little problem castling, because he's a little congested with the knight on e7, the bishop on f8. It's tough to get him out. So that's kind of white's idea. And so very complicated position, but d takes c5. And so d4, so temporarily sacrificing a pawn, but that pawn on c5 shouldn't be too difficult to recoup. Let's say a3, just a5 is going to go ahead and prevent that. Maybe knight g6, and bishop takes c5 with tempo. So for white, he has got to hold on to the pawn on e5, because the pawn on c5 is going to drop. So bishop d3, preparing rook e1. So queen e4 first. Essentially the same thing. Maybe queen e4 a plus could be, maybe he's thinking about playing rook d1, trying to round up black's pawn on d4, but bishop takes c5, and so now knight bd2. Maybe he's thinking knight b3 and rook d1. At least I like queen e4. It seems to be a more flexible move. But so now a little tactical ideas going around. Maybe if knight takes, just a couple exchanges. Maybe that's what white was thinking. Or quite possibly bishop f4 right here maybe seems a little better. And now black, it looks like it's not going to work out so well to try to hold the pawn. So bishop e7 coming back maybe to defend against some h4, h5 ideas by white. Black doesn't really want to castle in this position, because castling is castling queenside. It's just going to open him up. I mean, yeah, he's got some pressure on the pawn here, but it seems like white would just have, it would just be too easy for him to roll the pawn majority he's got on the queen side. So pretty much what's happened here is it's a pretty dynamic position. Black has a passed pawn on d4, and so that pawn might be able to stir up some trouble, but the real question is that, is it more of a strength or more of a weakness for black? If white can manage to round up that pawn, or at least whip up an attack on the king side, something knight g5 and h4, so it seems like it's a little easier for white to play. I think black really needs to try to get pressure on the c4 pawn. Seems to be white's only real source of weakness. And so now after castles, it seems like black just kind of castles into it here. So maybe he should have tried something a little different, but that pawn on d4 was a little tough to defend. So castles and h4 right away, and that's definitely not a good sign when your opponent can lash right out. And so now h5 to kind of slow white's attack, and simply rook d1 to consolidate first, and to kind of put a little more pressure on the d4 pawn. And so now a little regrouping to protect the weakness on c4 also involved this knight in the attack and the defense of the e5 pawn. So b5, so black is stirring up a little bit of counterplay, but again, these are just two pawns over here and the king's on the other side of the board. So knight d3 is a very nice maneuver. It's controlling the b4 square, c5, and it's controlling a lot of squares in the center, e5 to f4, and it's definitely ready to transfer to attacking the king. So also it's helping defend the e5 pawn, which white needs to hold on to for his attack. So switching up, now that the c-file is open, wants to put a little pressure on black's queen. The knight's a little loose on c6 as well. So rook c8, natural, and now g4. So black took a few good moves to prepare the move g4. He didn't just do it right away. And you see this a lot more at the top level. You know, 2,700 players. Specifically, they they have a lot of patience when they're about to attack. I mean, no doubt Motylev saw G4, 6-7 moves ago, but he waited and wanted to consolidate his position, tie his opponent's position up with a couple threats around the D4 pawn, and then attack while black's pieces are a little more tied up. So now it's pretty much easy pickings for white. He's just he's gonna play H5. Doesn't get much easier. So Queen B7, and Maletin, he's about like 25-50 GM. I think he he's just having a tough time in this game, and trying to set up maybe some ideas of counterplay along that diagonal against the white king. So Rook G1, developing the attack, and I think it's just all over now. There's no way to defend. H7 is weak. F7 is weak, and the knight on G6 is kind of just left stranded. So queen check, and it looks like maybe black's going to hold it together, and it's a nice little tactic. Knight takes E6 here, and obviously white didn't want to he didn't want to just go ahead and settle there. He wanted to go straight into an attack, and so with knight takes E6, he didn't want to settle for something like H5 maybe, although maybe this could allow a potential regrouping. I mean, the knight, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of white can do whatever he wants. The knight can't move because of queen H8 check, and so either way. But Motylev saw it's just going to be all over. There's no way for if pawn takes and white wins a pawn, and there's no real way for him to defend his king. I mean, even if bishop D8, there's it's not getting any better. It's definitely not, or just queen H8 checkmate there. So knight takes E6, king E8. White's up 2 pawns, and now after check, again, there's just no way out. And so black tries to consolidate even though he's down 3 pawns here. Maybe he can get some kind of cheapos against the white king and simply check. And in this position, Maletin resigned. In light of he's got no defense to pretty much any tactics in this position. It's pretty much over. So this is Will Stewart from OnlineChessLessons.net, and thanks for tuning in.